Hey, what's up guys, Riff here. So today we're going to be once again talking about Blue Archive. We have another round of funny stories and drama coming from that franchise and its community. But before we get into that, real quick, a reminder that I'm pushing for Partner Plus Level 2 on Twitch, which requires 300 sub points for 3 months in a row. These sub points coming from self-paid subs. And right now we're working on June with a few days left to go. And as you can see, we successfully completed May. And to bribe you guys into Tier 3 subbing, which is worth 6 points towards this goal, I'm offering limited edition merch for each month. You can see for the month of June, we have these peeker stickers here, and there's still some limited slots left for the month of June if you want to claim these peeker stickers or to help me out in this current campaign that I'm doing to achieve Partner Plus Level 2. Now back to the main story for today, Blue Archive. This is a franchise that crosses borders across the world, okay? So there are millions of people from many different backgrounds who look at this character. They look at Sensei and they say, that's literally me. Including some people like Mint Maid. I saw her tweet about Blue Archive only a couple of days ago, and honestly, base department. But a lot of people right now are talking about the anime, which recently concluded. This was something that was years in the making. A lot of people really look forward to this. But there's one episode in particular people were talking about a lot on social media, and that was episode 11. Now, what happened that was so controversial and attention-grabbing in episode 11? Well, it has to do with a 20 or 30 second sequence in the episode. Now, I don't know what I'm more afraid of, the copyright system or the community guidelines, so instead of playing this clip, you can find it on Twitter if you want. I'm just going to describe briefly what happens here. So, Sensei needs a favor from one of his students named Iori, and in response, she smugly says, "I'll help you out if you get down on your knees and lick my feet." And before she can even finish that sentence, Sensei is already on his knees with her whole ass foot in his mouth, okay? He didn't waste a millisecond. Now, this scene got a lot of attention on Twitter. It had Twitter in a chokehold, okay? A lot of people were sharing this scene. There's multiple tweets with tens of thousands of likes sharing the scene. Some people, of course, were offended, including some tourists who are claiming to be Blue Archive fans who are saying this goes too far, which is absolutely outrageous if you know Blue Archive at all. But a lot of people are also paying attention to this because of the fact that it's fan service, okay? And it just goes to show you that this is a great way to gain attention for your series. Like, you know what? Despite what a bunch of Zoomers will say, fan service still works and draws a lot of attention. In fact, it worked out really well for Blue Archive because right now, as it stands, episode 11 that featured this scene is by far the highest rated Blue Archive episode of that season. It just goes to show you how far a little bit of fan service can go for your franchise. Now, this scene from the anime was not without controversy in a different way. So this actually exposed a bad localization from the game. So as pointed out in this tweet, scandal erupts as the new Blue Archive episode exposes yet another localization dumbing down that went mostly unnoticed for so long, turning this section right here, literally if you get on your knees and licked my feet, to kissed my shoes. So if you see the side-by-side comparison, this is the original here, and this is the localization saying, I'll tell you what, maybe if you get on all fours and kissed my shoes, which obviously, as we know in the anime, he does a lot more than that. And once again, with these sorts of things, it seems like a small change, but it's a big deal because they are butchering the localization. Like, why are you censoring this in the first place? And people always respond to stuff like this saying, oh, what's the big deal? Stop complaining. Well, if it's not a big deal, then why did they change it? You know, it's just ridiculous, and I'm glad people have noticed this, and ironically, it is the anime that's exposing the censorship of the localization, which is a really funny outcome in this situation. However, there was another situation involving this scene from episode 11. Some people made this observation after a screenshot was leaked from the Blu-ray. This was a leak apparently from someone on the translation team, and as people observed, this scene, this shot right here in the Blu-ray does not exist in the Western release of this episode. You don't actually see the whole action going on here. So this leads to a couple of questions. Number one, is this just like a gratuitous bonus for people buying the Blu-ray where they get this extra shot? Or was the Western release of episode 11 censored? And honestly, I'm probably going with the latter given the history of many Western broadcasts of anime where they censor things, which is even more ridiculous in this particular situation because this scene, we all know what this scene is doing. Like, this is the whole point of the scene, and yet you're going to censor this one shot that is the most clear shot of what's going on. Just seems kind of ridiculous. But overall, episode 11 and that scene in particular drove a lot of attention to Blue Archive, really for the better. It gave that episode a big boost, and really it generated a lot of funny memes and interactions, but it also reminded people of one thing that is associated with the Blue Archive fandom, and that is their ability to out tourists. So when it comes to Blue Archive, when people try to infiltrate their franchise and try to change things or mess with things, the community is very, very aggressive. And honestly, good for them, okay? Like, you should gatekeep your hobbies. You shouldn't allow people to come in and virtue signal about your franchise and try to change it while claiming to be fans of it at the same time. Like, you shouldn't be having that. So here's another example of that resulting from this scene. So you can see this user in the screenshot here. They learned real quick what it's like to be a tourist trying to infiltrate the Blue Archive fan base. So it begins with this, a user sharing a meme calling the episode a 10 out of 10, where this user would quote them saying, "Can we please turn all of these girls into lesbians so the weirdos can leave them alone?" Now, I can only take so much brain rot, but I've briefly seen some of these claims by tourists trying to hope that all of the students in the franchise are lesbians, so they wouldn't be interested in the main character Sensei, who is the only male character in the franchise. And honestly, if that dynamic upsets you in the first place, like, how are you consuming Blue Archive? That is the entire point of the franchise, is to be Sensei and collecting your harem of female students. That's literally the whole point of the franchise. So if that bothers you, you can't enjoy this at its core. Go find something else to do. However, we would see some replies here that you can tell by the number of likes and the 1,000 replies. They were getting cooked. But this user said, "I will compromise. We will make them all lesbian, but the main character will be a futanari," where the user would reply saying, "That would be great. Just don't be weird with the girls." We're talking about making Sensei a futa, and they agree to those terms and say, just don't be weird about it. This whole thing is weird, and that's fine. It's fine to be weird, but like, how do you enjoy this franchise if you have to have such a crazy level of change applied to it for you to even be able to tolerate it in the first place? However, this would go even deeper. This user would ratio them into the shadow realm with this quote, and it is a screenshot of a previous tweet from this user saying, "We won." And what they're quoting is a situation we covered on this channel where briefly an artist took down their artwork featuring a straight ship of Genshin Impact characters, and people were really mad in the Genshin Impact community. A bunch of psychos in there were harassing this artist because they believed that the female character in the straight ship was actually a lesbian, and they consider that the equivalent of a war crime, and they were harassing this artist, sending them death threats, all kinds of crazy stuff. However, to spite the user we're just talking about now, and to give you the good ending of that situation, the artist would eventually come around and repost that artwork and basically say, "I'm not going to be bullied into removing this artwork." That was the good ending, but they lost. So that weird quote they had, people didn't forget, and they lost anyways. But they would even go further, making this tweet saying, "Arona, lolicons are weird and gross, leave me alone. Trans women are real women. I love all trans people. Love is love. I hate transphobes and homophobes." Quoting from this character, Arona. So yeah, I don't think she said that. And the note here would reflect that. So once again, the community note system on Twitter being the best feature, it says this: Arona is a fictional character, and she has never even talked about any of these themes. So yeah, I think we should normalize this. When people want to politicize a character for their own agenda, you should get hit with a note. There's nothing wrong with headcanon. You can view a character however you want in your own mind. But when you start putting words and phrases and messages to these characters and claiming them as fact for some sort of an agenda, that's when you need to be shut down and hit with notes like this. And the quotes on that tweet were absolutely brutal. This is probably the tamest reply I could find, and it's still pretty brutal. Like, people were not having this situation. People are not going to tolerate people trying to politicize and change characters for their own agenda. That is a very quick way to piss people off in general, but especially in the Blue Archive community. Now that's going to do it for this video. Another round of funny stories and drama coming out of Blue Archive. You can definitely check out the anime or the game if you want. It is highly recommended. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed, and share your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. And I'll see you guys next time.